Hello my wonderful, beautiful friends, welcome back to another video. Hope you guys are all having a fantastic day. Today's upload is going to be a long-range outlook. I will be discussing this little snow system that is occurring across the Midwest right now. The upcoming pattern I'll also be discussing about. So, if you like these type of videos, if you like my channel, if you're a new viewer, go check it out. I really recommend it. This channel is all because of you guys. I would not be continuing to make videos if I wouldn't be getting the continuous and amazing support I've been getting. Thank you guys so much. Thank you guys so much. I'm really so grateful for you. So if you want to, you could consider subscribing. If you don't have to at all. It's just an option. I'm just there to say that if you want to, go right ahead. So, right now, actually, let's go back to the radar. We are seeing, I live right by O'Hare, so somewhere in that band right there. And this system has been so extended. It's supposed to have been stopped snowing at around 10 to 11 o'clock, and right now, as you see right here, it's 11:33 Central Time. If you live in the Northeast, it is around 2:30. And they were forecasting this band of snow to be a little bit further to the south, as you see in this future cast. And if this is a little bit further to the north than expected, then areas like Chicago may get skirted by the snow actually throughout the afternoon. So that is something to watch. The HER model hasn't really been on this exactly. If you go to the HER model right here on this thing, you could see that we go through this. It has it very close to the Chicago area, southern Cook County potentially seeing some snow, but central Illinois most likely seeing the most. And at this point, we really don't know whether this is going to be a little bit further to the south or north. So if you live in this general area, I would be advising you to stay alert, drive with caution. A brief heavy snow shower may occur, and that could reduce the visibilities, cover the roads, especially towards the evening once the sun sets and the temperature drops. Then that's when right now it's snowing outside in my area, but it's not accumulating. It's actually melting. The snow's disappearing, even though it's snowing fairly heavily. So it's I think 35, 36, so it's almost transitioned into a rain event. So very interesting, but it just goes to show you that these very early winter events are hard to predict because you don't know whether it's going to be accumulating, is it going to be melting. There's so many different factors that go into this, that 1 degree of temperature can make, a difference between rain and snow, between staying on the ground and not staying on the ground. But overall, I think that the forecast for this system was fairly accurate. 1 to 2 inches was a good bet, but the ending of the snowfall was a little bit off. We go through this. That's just, it's not even a major system. We go through this. We have a high pressure, we have a cold front, a cold blast of air that pushes through. I'll show you that in the temperatures in a minute. But for around the Wednesday, Thursday time frame at least, the central and western part of the country should start warming up and pushing into the northeast. Very warm temperatures for Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving should be a very beautiful day for many. If we go to Wednesday, this is the most traveled day of the week, or I think most traveled day before Thanksgiving in the Thanksgiving time frame. I think the second most traveled day in the year. Not much at all, actually, so that's good news. There's a clipper up in the north producing some snow showers in Michigan and UP of Michigan, but otherwise, maybe some rain in the west, some rain here in Texas, and that's basically it. So we got lucky this time around. In terms of Thanksgiving, a little bit more action in the west, but again, not much action at all. No big storm. It's actually good that Winter Storm Avery occurred several days before Thanksgiving travel began, because that would have been just a complete mess. I mean, it already was a mess, but it would be even worse if this happened right around Thanksgiving time. This storm, you can see the west is getting bombarded with storms throughout the whole Thanksgiving week into the weekend. Afterwards, we start seeing a little bit more rain, a little bit more of a warmer pattern. Again, that sticks through. It looks like the ending part of November will be fairly warm. And it's really tough to say what will happen afterwards. We may see a little bit of cold for December. You could see maybe some hinting at some snowstorms. But again, this is very hard to predict, and the models have been all over the place. Let's go back to hour 0 just to go one by one. So we're seeing that little system across the north, or across the central part of the country, I would rather say. And it's pushing down to the south as a cold front. We get a cold blast of air. We get a second one, especially the northeast will be into this cold air. as we go pushed into Thanksgiving, the day before Thanksgiving, you could see the west and the central part of the country starts warming up, while the northeast, sorry about that, the northeast is still cooler, and along with the south. And then we get into Thanksgiving Day, we get another cold blast of air into the northeast, but you notice this warm air is just so eager to push into the eastern part of the United States, so eager to get into that place, and it will eventually. You can see that, pushes even farther as far south as Georgia, this cold air, but the warm air is just so eager, and it finally pushes it out. And around November 26, 27 timeframe, we finally get a nice little a break from the cold. I mean, if you like the cold, then you won't like this, but overall this winter looks fairly cold for the snow lovers. That will be good news. And we will get these warm breaks in between, so that's a good news for the warm weather lovers. But I would say that this winter looks pretty hectic in terms of snow, cold, and many other things. So this winter may be a one to remember. I mean, this November in terms of snow precip and cold is already a memorable Snowvember. I almost said. Basically, that's what it is going to be remembered by, the massive snowstorm that hit the northeast and the insane cold across the central and eastern part of the country. And you can see as we go on, it's just a mix. Maybe some colder air, maybe some warmer air. I could show you the teleconnections, but the teleconnections are showing a negative NAO around the beginning of December, which would mean colder air for the eastern and snowier conditions for the eastern part of the United States, but the models aren't showing that. There's going to be a negative AO, which I think indicates slightly, or indicates the colder air to be able to go pass down to the south with greater ease. So there are some signs showing that December may be fairly cold, but it's tough to say at this point. And in terms of will we see a white Christmas, again, that is just a wild guess at this point. It's somewhat an educated guess, but you got to remember it's almost still a month away from Christmas, and I won't be able to really pinpoint exactly what areas will be white and will not. I can name some of the locations that probably will be like white, like Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and Maine. Those are like the the usuals. But whether states like Illinois, Indiana, Ohio, Kentucky, Missouri, Kansas will be white, we will have to wait and see. We don't even know what pattern we're going into past the late November into December timeframe. If you have any sort of suspicions, if you have any sort of guesses at what the pattern is going to be that we're going into, leave your comment in the comment box below and tell me what you think will happen throughout this winter and what you're expecting. Or if you don't know any of what will happen, then what you're hopeful, and we could have a fun conversation that way. Looking at the 6 to 10 day outlook, this extends from November 22nd through the 26th. Very warm conditions across much of the country. You could see a little bit cooler with that rain, with those storms bombarding the west, as I mentioned earlier, and it's still a little bit cooler in the northeast. In terms of precip, again, the west is gonna get quite a bit of rain, which is very good news. Very good news. They need this rain. These fires have been ridiculous, but again, it's another threat with this due to the fact that too much of a good thing is a actual thing, and when there's too much rain on dry, parched, burned ground, that could lead to mudslides, landslides, and floods, flash floods, which is definitely not what they want either. But I think they would take the rain over the fire. So a little bit drier in the northeast, but that is due to the colder conditions. But in those areas that it's going to be warmer than average, it's going to be wetter than average. So I think quite a bit of rain is expected for many of the locations. In terms of the 8 to 14 day outlook, this extends from the 24th through the 30th of November. We start seeing a little bit, they have obviously less confidence in this, but we could start seeing some moderation in the warm, and we could start seeing maybe another cold shots of air coming in. We don't know. It's really tough to say at this point. Precip probability looks fairly above average for much of the country, but another thing I want to point out, just because it's above average and it's above average in terms of temperatures, it's already late November into early December when this forecast is in place. So the average lows and highs are fairly low. So just maybe 5 degrees above average may still mean that there could be snow falling or on the ground and that, it's that time of the year where 5 to 10 degrees above average necessarily could still mean snow, and 5 to 10 degrees below average could mean brutal cold. If we were to look at the 2 meter temperature shaded, which shows you the actual temperature, the air temperature that the thermometer will read, we are looking at, again, that cooler blast of air coming into Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and then Wednesday starts moderating at least out to the west and central part of the country. But notice how the northeast will get blasted by this cold blast right here. I mean, you can see some of the, I think this is, some of the nighttime lows into the negatives. This is around 7 o'clock in the morning on Thursday, so Thanksgiving Day. Fairly chilly, fairly cold across the northeast, and across the west and central part of the country, moderate and mild. So pretty good news for travel. And as I showed you earlier, the precipitation doesn't look to be a major problem. We go through time, you could see it starts moderating. A lot of the country is above average, above freezing, and the south starts really getting those temperatures into those 80s and 60s. So very good news for those that want the warmth. But as we get on into further, you can see those the averages drop, and with the confidence of being warmer than average, we could start seeing a colder pattern and more of a snowier pattern. We will need to wait and see on that. We are not confident. We are not sure about what will happen at this point. We will just need more data and more time to figure this out. At this point, it's a wild guess, like I said. In terms of precip, very, very big amounts for the west, and quite a bit for the eastern part of the country, but the central part of the country seems to be fairly dry, but that could still change again. So thank you for watching. Consider subscribing to my channel. Stay safe on the roads, and I'll catch you all guys in the next episode. See ya. Bye.